Welcome to Learning From. I'm Tom Moore, and I thought I might revitalize this YouTube channel. So I came up with a very quick idea for a format, and that is Learning From, where I take a look at story guide and game master chapters from different RPGs and have a look at them and see what they are doing great and what we can use and learn from them as storytellers. I've been running games for over 20 years by this point, and there was a time where I didn't thought that I could learn much from these chapters, and that changed very much. And now I am, as I get a new book, it's almost the first thing that I look up, this chapter, and I look how the writers and developers imagine their games to be played and what kind of input and insights they give. And we're gonna look through quite a few of them, I hope. For example, I want to get to this one very soon. That's Heart, the City Beneath. And but today we are looking at The World Below because it is just recently released and it is an amazing game. And I think there are quite a few neat things that we could learn from The World Below. So it's a mighty tome, has plenty of pages, and the story guide section starts roundabout in the 300s page-wise. So there's a lot of stuff before that, and then we are gonna dive into the interesting parts for us. So there's of course the usual stuff that is very helpful to get into a chapter like this, and then there is basically the section that gets you ready to set up your game. And I really like that there is quite a bit of space dedicated to expectations at the table, to get them right, to communicate well, because man, it blows if you have several players at the table who all want to play The World Below, but for very different reasons, and they expect all kinds of games, and then you have to crush these dreams because you already have an idea. So there's some good advice on how to get your table onto the same page. What also is on the same page is story structure. And that's something I learned to love as I delved into Vaesen, because Vaesen gives you a very clear structure on how to write your mysteries. And we get something similar here with the story structure that tells you how a standard or common adventure in The World Below might work. And they give you a very clear structure which helps you to understand when and how to integrate the calm season. That's a special thing in the game world of The World Below, where chaos storms ravage the entire realm, and life outside of the settlements gets very, very difficult, if not to say murderous, and even inside the settlements there's much danger to behold. So and this is a special thing that happens every so often, and this structure helps you a lot on when to put this and how to organize your stuff. And I think especially to newer GMs or somebody who wants to get an idea on how to run The World Below, a structure like this is very helpful, something you can fall back to and get an idea. This is how this game usually is run. It doesn't say that you have to do it like this. You are completely free to do whatever you want. It is an RPG after all, but this is a proven way for it, and yeah, why not use it? Then we have a lot of interesting stuff 1.5 pages, only ideas of what kind of stories or what kind of adventures you could play. 2 to 3 lines each, a short story hook, something that gets you started, an appetizer that gets your imagination and your inspiration running, and you can develop from there. Very neat. I love this. As I am starting a new RPG, I'm always interested in, okay, and now I've read the entire world. There's so much amazing stuff. But what do I do with this? And these small hooks, these primers, get you right in there, and you get a good idea of what will happen. Oh, no, how things starts, not what's going to happen. That's your job. But after that, after picking one of them, you're pretty good to go. Then we get a good section about how to integrate the rules into your play. That's very helpful, highly appreciated. A box, half a page about safety at the game table, also great. This is a dark fantasy game that brings horror from time to time, and as it does, it hits massively because there is a very strong tone of wonder, exploration, amazement. The world below is fascinating, as you can see in the art, for example. It's vibrant, it's colorful, it's beautiful. And at the same time, there are very, very dark corners and horrific creatures to encounter and horrible fates to find. And maybe one day you're examining a beautiful glowing gem, and the next moment you're eaten by a gigantic worm and might have been roasted over a fire pit by a cult of this worm. So yeah, all kinds of things happen. Quick section about how to implement failure and how to handle it at the table so it's exciting and interesting and doesn't lead to frustration. Very helpful. I'm glad we are at a point where this is common advice and we are not hiding important plot points behind a single dice roll anymore. But that's like 10, 20 years in the past, I think. And now we come to genre and tone, which is almost my favorite piece. There's one thing that I'm even more excited about, but this is great. These are the tools you have as a story guide to tune the feeling of your game by tuning the rules. There are very strong themes of wonder and desperation in this game. Hope, tragedy, and horror are in there, and this section gives you an idea on how to emphasize on each of these themes by adding a slight rule. For example, if we go into horror, because I'm a horror GM, I think, the first one that's suggested here is when players decide to fail an action without rolling, or the storyteller places an antagonist in a scene in which it was not supposed to appear, give the players one momentum. So what this segment does, it gives incentives for the players to decide just to fail. And they gain a small benefit for it, which they might need for something else. So they can just say, okay, things are getting worse, but I get this tiny benefit and that's worth it. And this emphasizes the tone that we are going for. Things are getting dire by the minute. And the GM basically gets the allowance, so to say, to set another monster, another antagonist, another horrible thing into a scene, and is incentivized to do so, as the players also get the small benefit again, which I very, very much like. More games should have these sections that help you as a story guide to tune your adventure to the liking of your group, to the tone that you're going for, and not just babble in philosophy about how that could run. It's great. Love it. And then my favorite part, after a little bit going into community building and generational play, I'm gonna skip these for the sake of sample settings. That's something I've seen in one or two StoryPath games already. These are basically areas and locations ready to be explored by the characters. You get an overview, a description from bird's eye perspective, basically, on what kind of location we have here. And I picked one that I wanted to introduce you to, and you probably will see it right now popping up. This is the Crystal Caves. For once, look at this art. It's beautiful. I love it. Every page of these sample settings gets one of these art strips. It's awesome. I will be so happy if I as soon as I get this book in hardcover finally. So, Crystal Caves. We get a short introduction into the place. Any adventurer visiting these caves stands in awe at the sight of the giant crystalline formations emerging from all the walls. A luminous landscape that entrances and inspires its admirers. The glowing suggests a source for the light that may be valuable if found. But the crystal caves aren't free from danger. The environment can't support humanoid life, and each step is made on treacherous ground. Wow, awesome. Okay, you already have pictures in your head about this place. Great. Now we get a very brief thing that's called Common Threads. It contains just 3 words. Questitors, mirages, and cave-ins. Questitors are a kind of antagonist. Mirages might also be, but also we know that this might be just a visual thing, an hallucination, something like this. And of course we have cave-ins. These things aren't mentioned later on in the description of the place, but now you know, as the story guide, that you can put them in there. That's something that's expected. And probably if your players ask, well, what do I know about this place? These are common threads. They might be aware of it. They might have heard of something like that. Not necessarily, but it's a very quick answer for a kind of role that they might do to learn or to know more about the place. And then you get 5 sites of note. And you get an Adamas community, which is, a community of people who can actually live there. You get gem markets, mines, labyrinthine tunnels, and a crystal prison. And all of these sites of notes have 1 sentence of description and then several lines of tiny events that happen there with which the characters can interact. So this place, as the players come into it, as the characters start to explore it, has a ton of stuff going on. And you can just pick and choose and throw tiny bits at them and see what sticks. What are they interested in? And if you're looking at the crystal prison, it can be something like this. Ancient captives wait here, trapped inside the crystals in a remote area, probably. Area. A prisoner strikes against the crystal walls, which crack as you pass nearby. The mindless guardians attack you before you can even try to reason with them. A blurry figure inside a crystal addresses you with an intriguing offer to share. These are 3 events. You can look what might be fitting to your characters. You can use several of them. They're all there. Just use them and have story. Amazing. And then you get complications and enhancements. These are also rule terms. If you have a complication on your roll, you might still succeed, but still bad things happen if you can't buy it off. And enhancements grant you a better chance at being better at succeeding. They don't decide if you succeed, but if you succeed with enhancement, you're better at succeeding. And these give you ideas of what might be beneficial and not beneficial to your characters in this place. An example for a complication might be, although crystals and gems abound here, merchants selling more. Although crystals and gems are abound here, merchants selling more mundane goods ask for a high price. So, yeah, we have plenty of valuables, so they are cheaper, but everything else is more expensive because you don't really have a large community which is able to survive here. And so you have to pay higher prices. And of course, a fitting enhancement would be the soil brims with precious gems, far easier to dig up than elsewhere. Yeah, so if you're going to dig for gems, you will have an easier time, and also now you have gems and you can sell them. It's great. I love these places. It doesn't take a long time to prepare them. It's basically read them, look what you love, take it, and run with it. Everything else can be improvised afterwards. And that's brilliant. I love it. That's definitely something I learned from StoryPath, and I love the way that it is presented here. So, that's also the end of the chapter. I could maybe say a line or two about generational play and community building. For me, the best selling point of The World Below is the idea of community building. There's an entire system built around it. It is explained in a different chapter, so we don't see much of the technical side here. And it comes down in the SG section to one very important advice. Make it vibrant. Make it interesting. Give it character, this community that the characters are building. Have awesome SGCs in there. That's what's it coming down to. And I think that's pretty good advice. And yeah, it goes a little bit on about philosophy of or the upsides of generational play, what kind of chances are in there. So that's also nice. I think the strong suit of the story guide section and chapter of The World Below is it gives a structure, very helpful. It gives a ton of story ideas and story starters, and it gives you the the tools to tune the adventure to the liking and the experience to the liking of your table. And then you have sample settings. Amazing. So, if you liked listening to me for 20 minutes about the word below, and would like to hear my opinions and thoughts about other GM, SG, storyteller sections, well, maybe be so kind and leave some sort of incentive there, like, I don't know, some momentum, a comment, I don't know, all the other stuff the other people on the YouTube say, probably. So, thank you and bye.